Welcome to another Rainmaker podcast. And man, do we have a dandy here. We got my man Roy Snar here. And I got to tell you, I had a chance to spend some time with him at the SWAT event, which was in Dallas, which was absolutely life changing. Got to share stage with Roy. And since then, we kind of started to build a friendship. So I'm excited about this one. And Roy Snar is going to teach you all about what Nar Academy is, how to build an agency, and all things long-term care. So without further ado, let's jump right into the show. Roy, my man, definitely a pleasure having you. Welcome to the Rainmaker podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Arturo. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited. I want to take a step back and kind of talk about the event that we both just attended. What was that like for you to be able to go to the SWAT event?
It was amazing. Both of us go to a lot of events all throughout the year. And what I really enjoyed about SWAT was how different it was. I mean, you could walk in there just being a pure real estate agent or somebody outside of the insurance realm, and it would make total sense to you. The way that they do the personality mapping, how to think differently about business in general. I got a lot out of that event. And as you know, it is jam packed. It is like a boot camp. I mean, 12 hours a day in a freezing cold room. We both love Nate, but man, he keeps that room cold. It was absolutely amazing. I encourage anybody in our space to definitely attend the next year's event. You get a lot out of it.
Yeah, one of the things that I realized that Nate, from being at that event, that he thinks is the most life changing thing for people is
Yeah.
immersion. And that's what that event was for me. You were immersed in it, focusing on
Yeah.
your personality, your personal, your goals, and really getting clear that when you left that event, there was no doubt about it. You had tons of time to immerse yourself. And yeah, I think a couple of my toes frozen just now thawing out from that event because it
Yeah.
was ice cold sitting up there at the front. But yeah, Roy,
Exactly.
definitely excited to learn a little bit more about you, man. So how did you even get started in the life insurance business in the first place?
Well, isn't every young boy's dream to grow up and sell insurance? So, yeah, my background is actually pretty unique. My family, we're a bunch of blue collar hillbillies. I guess we didn't have like the business background per se. I grew up doing like commercial logging and construction. Then my mother became disabled, and that happened when I was about 14 years old. Somebody sideswiped her unexpectedly. Bam. She lost the car. She ended up losing her job over it. A divorce came about it with a stepdad. We had to move in the middle of my schooling all the way up to her parents' house at the time. So it was like just this crazy life event that happened all at once. And it always stuck with me like, how could this happen? How could one single car accident completely change not only the financial outcome, but the emotional and family impact of somebody's life? So I always had this calling to do something to help people, to help prevent similar situations. And then it just happened to be while I was in college,
Hmm.
I started asking people, what do you do what do your parents do? Right. The kids I didn't ask because they were doing the same thing I was trying to figure out life. But I'd always ask, like, what do your parents do? Can I meet your parents? And then long story short, I met somebody who had a friend in the financial services industry. And so I actually recruited myself to a multi-level marketing agency and spent about 2.5 years there. That's how I got my feet wet in this business. So that was my very early start into the world of insurance and finance from a completely different background.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because that's the first time I've ever heard that where somebody recruited themselves in. That's the first time
Yeah,
I've heard
yeah.
that, which is pretty cool.
I wasn't even approached. I approached them.
Yeah. So what was that? What was that hunger or that curiosity that you were looking for when you're asking people, "What do your parents do?" Where did that come from, and what were you looking for?
That's a great question. I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always been a terrible employee. Like, okay, you got to take your bathroom break here. And if you want to go on vacation, you got to ask us. I was like, ask you for what? It's my life. So I was never a really good employee. So I had some small like landscaping businesses of my own, just like weed eat, mow for people, and little odds and ends there. But a lot of the ambition came from this inner calling of wanting to do something more. And then after joining that organization and learning like the scope of business and what I could actually accomplish really blew my mind. So seeing the potential that I had at my fingertips while being fueled by the fact that my mother was still disabled and we didn't have much. We lost virtually everything. I was like,
Hmm.
I want to do something to, kick ass in business and be able to help people and then be able to take care of my mom. And that was the very bottom line fuel and ambition I had in the original beginning. It still fuels me today, but now I have 3 kids, I'm married, and all these other stuff going on. So I
Yeah.
have different types of fuel, but that was the initial ambition, is to be like, I'm going to make something different. I'm going to be the one in my family that makes a huge impact. And this is the only avenue I could think of on how to do it. And it happened to be insurance.
Yeah, man. And so it sounds like you early on had the entrepreneurial bug and you were just asking questions, trying to figure out what it is that you're going to do. But more importantly, asking questions to see who the successful people were and figure out what they were doing, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because I mean, what did I know? I didn't know anything, right? So I was like, "Hey, you're making more money than me, and you're doing better. So let me ask you for advice." And I've always kept that boyish excitement and this ignorance bliss and wanting to learn more. And even today, I'm in part of I'm in part of multiple coaching programs, and I'm always constantly trying to learn more. And that's really helped my entrepreneurship and also helped me in business. Is not to be shy to ask questions. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
afraid to look stupid because I'm not that
Hmm.
smart to begin with. I'm just really determined. So,
Yeah. So you mentioned something that I just keyed in on, and I want to get
yeah.
your point of view on that, which is you said you're in different coaching programs. And so the reason why I'm asking that is because a lot of times agents, they're only plugged in to one outlet, which is the outlet of their organization. They only got one
Correct.
source of information, which becomes a vacuum sometimes. And a lot of times, you need some outside or third party information to help you grow. So why is that important to you, or why have you chosen to get coaching, to get consulting? Because you're already successful. Why would you even consider doing that?
Yeah, well, and thank you. That's a great question. And what agents need to understand and realize, and we hit on this really hard, is that you always want to seek counsel from other people and other groups, and don't be afraid to invest in yourself. I mean, some agents, they'll just buy a whole bunch of leads, which you need leads. I understand that, but they won't spend $1 on self improvement. I mean, self
Mm,
improvement is a lifetime value. I mean, you and I have even spoken about the coaching programs that you offer and how we're going to work together on that. And this is just to tell other agents too. Like, why don't you look up Arturo Johnson and look at his site and seek his counsel. He's got a different perspective than somebody else, because a lot of times, if you just take counsel from an organization that only has a vested interest in you earning them money, it could be persuaded. Well, what's the scope of their advice, right? It's almost like going to a captive insurance agency and saying, "Give
right.
me a quote." They're only going to show you one anyway. So you should invest into yourself and have multiple coaches. And some people say, "Well, I'm only going to have one." Well, that's crazy. You want multiple ones, because some coaches are focused on certain topics, right? Maybe it's a business growth coach, maybe it's a mindset coach, maybe it's a health coach, maybe it's one of like a similar package to what you offer, where you help people actually get the most out of their book of business and how to close more deals. You need to have more than one coach in your center of influence. Like, keep that top 5 golden.
Yeah, and you think about it, if you were like, I liken sales professionals and entrepreneur to professional athletes, where you got your head coach, but Michael Jordan had Tim Grover that was his personal trainer, right?
Yeah.
Some people have a mindset coach, strength and training coach, conditioning coach. They have
Yeah.
fitness coach. And so if you want to get better, these are the things that are required, that you have to invest in yourself. And I know for me personally, I spend about 100 grand per year in personal development coaching programs, because I want to always be learning. I want to be thrusting myself into information, putting words in my mind, learning
Yep.
from people, because those words are the things that end up stacking into new ideas and keeping me fresh. I think LeBron James says he spends over $1 million
Yeah.
on his physical stuff. And I mean, he doesn't need to. He's already got God given talent. If this guy who came out of high school at 6'8" something is putting $1 million into his body, into his personal development, then why shouldn't we, right? Because it doesn't come in as
Yeah.
elite as that. So I guess I want to transition to tell me a little bit about this Nar Academy. I'm definitely interested in hearing something about that. How did that come about? What's the backstory on that? And then what's the whole
Sure.
story behind the Snar Academy?
So the whole story behind the Star Academy, what we wanted to do is, after seeking counsel from multiple coaches throughout the course of time, is that we were able to build a 7-figure book of business. And then we felt ready to actually become coaches ourselves, mentors ourselves. So we developed this Snar Academy platform. It's the only, to our knowledge, long-term care-based training platform in the entire country. And we have an immense passion for it because I've personally lived through 4 life-changing events that happened to be through long-term care with my grandparents. And a lot of our clients were sharing stories about how their parents had to go through long-term care. And we're like, wow, why aren't more people selling long-term care insurance? And why aren't we doing more? So over the years, we started just really diving into long-term care, becoming complete experts. We're number 1 in Texas, top 10 in the US for production.
Mm,
We do a ton of long-term care. And then we said, you know what? Why don't we develop an academy that's easy access, is super affordable, where more agents can learn about it? So we did it for 2 reasons. The first main reason is to help agents reach out to more of their clients because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy for us, almost like
mm,
having your own foundation or charity. Through the ability of us providing this educational platform, we've been able to impact thousands of lives without even talking to them because of the hundreds of agents that have been able to benefit from the program and actually go out there and implement the strategies. And then secondly, on a business model, it just made sense for us because we're one of the only BGAs, broker general agents, that offer all the long-term care contracts. Most companies don't offer it. So we said, well, look, how about we become a BGA, not only to help educate these agents, but also to help them get access to contracting if they want that. So it's a win-win situation, and it has allowed us to get onto phenomenal shows and influencers like yourself and different TV stations, radio stations. We've written a book about it. So it's really helped us expand our brand and our practice, all by helping people and giving back.
man, that's so awesome. So many things I
Yeah,
want to kind of dive into, and I'm excited, but I
sure.
want to kind of stay on track. So, a couple of things is reaching back out to your existing clients, right? So
Yeah.
often, agents are just burning through the marketplace
Oh, yeah.
and just buying new leads. And I need to talk to this new person and going through, and they don't realize that they're leaving money on the table. But more importantly, you're not actually like servicing your clients, right? You're just
Sure.
making a sale. And so I really want to talk about that. Why is that important to have the long-term care piece
Yep.
in there, but also for you to just reach back out to your clients?
Great. I'm going to give a couple free tips here. Okay. And then I'll talk about the long term care aspect. So, tip number 1, here's exactly what we do. And this is a part of our academy, part of our training. Whether or not you could be in a completely different organization doesn't matter to us. This will help you. Number 1, you help somebody with a policy. Even if you make $5 in commission on it, doesn't matter. Send them a handwritten thank you card. If you don't want to write it, have your wife, your husband, your mom, somebody write the thank you card, put a real stamp on it, send it out with a $5 Starbucks gift card or a $10 Starbucks gift card if they're husband and wife. Send them 2. Okay. Send them, hey, thank you for the opportunity to work with you. We're always here for you, blah, blah, blah. That makes yourself different. Number 1. And then number 2, send them a birthday card every single year. Number 3, send them an annual review card. So a lot of agents go, well, I saw a whole bunch of term life for mortgage protection. Why would I send them an annual review card? Nothing changes on term. Hello, you can convert the term into a UL or a whole life or something, IUL. And then the other bigger piece of that is that you're staying in touch with them and they go, you know what? My cousin or my Aunt Sally from Florida just retired. She needs help. Boom. So you're staying in contact with these folks all the time. See, a lot of agents, to your point, they're sitting on a gold mine. They're not even cross marketing the people that they already sold to. And those are the easiest people to resell to. So you should send out a notification to them. If you only sold them a term life policy, send out a notification and say, hey, we also specialize in cancer insurance. We also specialize in Medicare. By the way, we have a long-term care division now. Just keep
Yeah.
reaching out to those clients and you'll cut down your lead cost dramatically.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you brought that up because I started a captive agency, and so that was the only way that we were taught to kind of to build a book of business when I was with Northwestern Mutual, probably in
Yeah.
like 2013, 2014. But the whole stand in front of your existing book of business, where you're able to turn one policy into 2. And I know that like once they've gone through the underwriting process, if it's a term, to convert it is super easy. It's just basically like filling out one form, getting them to sign a signature. They don't have to go through any of that again, which
Right.
was super cool. So a lot of
Yeah.
agents, I don't know. I see it specifically for the existing clients that I work with now that are specializing in, mortgage protection, final expense, IULs, where they're just not getting that. Why is it important to send those things out? What effects have you seen personally from sending out and doing those 3 tips that you just gave for your business to help it grow?
Oh, it's immense. I mean, sometimes it's a hornet's nest that we stir because we also do drip emails. And then we get a lot of questions. I mean, but that's part of it. Those are good challenges to have. You're being interactive with your clients, and you don't have to worry about somebody else coming in saying, "Oh, here's a new term policy for $3 difference. Go with me." Because if you're staying in contact with them, they're more likely to stay with you. And especially on the scalability side, it holds a lot of retention, right? But just in our own personal book, to give you an idea, we generate anywhere between $50,000 and $75,000 a year on average, just on term conversions, going back and
Wow.
selling them convertible term, to like a whole life or into an IUL or an IUL with a guaranteed or just a UL extended out. And then the other part of that too, that is not a part of the conversion, we gain roughly around 5 to 7 new clients a year on them saying, "Hey, thank you for the birthday card. By the way, I retired. Can you roll over this IRA for me?" Or, "You know what? My cousin needs help." Like just today, just unique timing. Just today, we sent out a birthday card. The guy called, "Hey, thank you for the card. By the way, I have another 54,000 I want to move over into a rollover. Can you help me with that?" I go, "Yeah, absolutely." So, there we go. We made $3,500 or whatever the commission may be for sending out a 40 or 55-cent card, So it's immense, and you won't see the traction right away, but over the course of time you will. And if you're new to the business and you're writing predominantly term because it's simple, you have this golden book now that you can comb back through as you become more experienced to cross sell other lines.
Yeah. So if you want confirmation just today from just talking about this strategy, there's the
Yeah.
instant confirmation. And I think that it makes your book of business a little bit more stable, because I think that in the space that I'm specifically talking about, mortgage protection and final expense, we're just talking about putting the numbers on, right? But we don't realize that there's a hole in the bucket, right, where the chargebacks are coming, or somebody coming behind you and writing something that's kicking the door in. And so in
Yeah.
order for you to avoid some of those things and keep your persistency good, and just, get some low hanging fruit sometimes, is just giving, right? And if you want to,
Yeah.
the compensation that you're going to get to go to the next level is going to come directly from the value that you're able to give, right? Expertise, knowledge, and sometimes you just need to give. And it always comes back, because reciprocity, that formula, giving starts the receiving process. So just
Yep.
giving a card, man, most people, when they get conversations and calls from people, it's somebody needing something.
Yeah.
So that helps you stand out, because when you're giving something, people remember that. It's like, oh, this person didn't actually need anything from me. They actually gave me something to improve me, whether it was a card, just saying thank you with the Starbucks gift card, even if they don't like
Yeah.
Starbucks, it's the gesture, right? Where it's like, oh,
It
that
is.
person actually cared.
Exactly. And then the other thing too, to follow up with that, a lot of agents don't do. In fact, we're like one of the only agencies I know that does this consistently. Let's say you sell them a final expense policy, right? And they spend $50 a month. And then whatever carrier it is, a lot of agents say, "I'll just do e-delivery or just have it mailed to the client." We don't do that. We say, "Hey, look, we want a physical copy." If the client wants a digital copy, we call the carrier, request a physical, or we actually print out the deck pages and we put it together in a leather binder. We put the company brochures, our brochures, copy of our books, a welcome letter, thank you letter, how to log in, create an online account, a copy of the illustration, a buyer's guide for life insurance or long-term care or annuities. And we put this in a binder and then we ship it out. And then depending on the type of client it is, we'll ship it out with a thermos with our brand on it, and a cutting board with our brand on it. And we'll just mail it all out to them. We only tell them it's coming. And they go, "Oh, I got this package. Oh yeah, we wanted to give you a custom everything." Because the persistency ratio on mortgage protection and final expense, it's hard, especially final expense. So every little extra mile that you go will help retain that client. Because if you just sell them something and then they get another flyer on the mail, or they click another Facebook ad and they find out that they can get it for $3 cheaper, or they get more coverage for the same price, or whatever it may be, or they click on some kind of a marketing ad, they're less likely to even care about that. Like, "Hey, you know what? Arturo gave me a whole packet. I'm going to go back and read through it. Oh yeah, this seems good. This seems better than what they're trying to advertise. I got his coffee mug I'm drinking my bourbon out of, or coffee, whatever." It's just little things like that that people don't do that makes a huge difference. Think about it yourself. Right? If your home and auto guy gave you a t-shirt, a thermos, a coffee mug, a thank you card, like, wow, I don't want to reshop my coverage. This guy's awesome.
Yeah.
It helps.
Yeah. So a testament to that is the reason why we're on this podcast today. So I think it might have been last year or the year before that. 8%, Road to 8% was in Charlotte. And
Yeah.
I hadn't met Cody yet, hadn't talked to him. So I bought his book. and I had my CMO Earl go there because he's like a couple, about maybe 2 hours from Charlotte at the time. So I had him go. So he got the VIP ticket. So he sat up front. So he was already existing client of Cody. So I was like, okay, there's a little bit of an entryway. I recorded a video of me reading one of the parts from Cody's book that was inspirational to me. And I gave him a shout out and told him that I love what he was doing and all of that. And from there, that value that we added to support him and show up to that turned into one of the biggest friendships that I've had in this space, because it's really hard to find friends as an entrepreneur and a business owner. But I found a friend through doing that and adding value and starting by giving. And because you never know, how you're going to reciprocate that. So that's pretty awesome. That's a really cool story. I want to go back to the long-term care thing, because that kind of hit home when you talked about that. Because in 2015, my mom suffered just like a health crisis. She had a heart attack, a stroke 11 days later, and she had to have a hysterectomy for ovarian cancer. So it was just like a traumatic time for me personally, with all of the medical bills, all of the things I needed to sign, medications, trying to figure out where she was going to go. And it was insane. And if she didn't have something as a backup plan, she wouldn't be here, because most people don't realize that at a certain point, you can max out their health coverage to where you can't afford it, where, you have to start paying a percentage. And we were 60 days past the 80-20 and 30 days past where it was like 50-50 with thousands of bucks. And if she wouldn't have had something in place, I would have had to take my mom home, where she couldn't. She was paralyzed on the left side, and try to take care of her. So I just thank goodness I had something in place. And so I really want to circle back to the long-term care and why you feel like agents should have this in their arsenal to talk about when they're already getting in front of people, and why it's important.
Yeah. I mean, look at your story, right? Look at my mom's story. I mean, our parents never thought of that would happen. And you and I never thought as kids, or even a couple of years ago, or before it even happened, that it would occur. You have to remember, and this is what we always tell agents. Like I spoke about this on when I spoke Main Stage Medicare Con. I'm going to speak about it Main Stage 8%. The same thing I did at SWAT is 70% of your clients, statistically, give or take, right, are going to need some level of long-term care. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. I mean, first of all, at the bottom of your heart, because you do this business for more than just money, you do this business to help people. Why aren't you at least having that conversation with them about long-term care? If you know it's going to happen to over 50% of your clients, you're just going to not say anything, just keep your mouth shut. And then when their kids call you or their family calls you saying, hey, we're going through all the paperwork and we found out that you're the insurance person. Did you help them with long-term care? Nah, I was too lazy. Didn't care. How are you going to feel emotionally? That's going to hurt. So at least have the conversation. And even if you don't want to write it, find a referral partner. You can use us. You can use somebody that you know in town. Doesn't matter. Just use somebody to have that conversation. And then secondly, on a more, that's more of a selfless play, just to be able to help them. On more of a selfish play for business purposes, to respect your time. It's a massive revenue generator. And you don't even charge the client. You get paid by the carrier. It's an amazing win-win. And so you can open up a whole other line of business without purchasing lead, just going and coming back through your book. Even if somebody tells you no, who cares? At least you had the conversation.
Yeah, that's very insightful, and I think sometimes we don't think we have enough resources, or we're overlooking things where it's like, hey man, you probably have over 1,000 clients in your database, man. There's some money in there where you just haven't gone back and talked to some of those people instead of buying leads. I want to kind of transition into another topic in regards to being producing content, being an author and creating courses. Why? Because I'm starting to see that be the transition where agents are now starting and wanting to do that. Why has that been something that you transitioned to try to make a bigger impact on the industry by doing?
Yeah, so we wanted to create a entire video course. We use Lightspeed. It's a great platform, and it's all about long-term care. It's a very low-cost entry point. I mean, it's easy to find. It's my name, Roy Snar, or Nar Academy. You can find it. And the reason why we started doing this is to make a bigger impact, because long-term care, it's not complicated once you understand it. But in the scalability aside, I can't sit down and have an hour conversation with every agent who has an interest in it. There's just not enough time, right? So we created this platform. It's an entire step-by-step basis on exactly how to do it. And then the agents that actually take advantage of it and they do the research and the homework with the academy, they join our weekly Zoom calls, they're seeing massive revenue and success from doing the program. And the one thing I say to folks is that, a lot of these agents, some of them have courses, but they've never actually done it, right? And so that's
Mm.
one thing that makes us really different is that we're out in the field. We are top producers. We're top of the table MDRT. We win all these awards and stuff like that. But none of that's that relevant for the client. But for the agents, like, look, we're telling you this just because we're actually doing the same. We get the same objections you do. We get people to hang up the phone, never call us back. All of that, we're going through the same thing. So we share with you, look, here's everything we've done wrong. Here's how I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars doing the wrong thing. And don't do what I did. Do this way. This is what we've learned. So it's passionate for us because we love teaching and educating and making a difference on lives of the agents. We've received gift packages, thank you cards saying, you know what, now we're generating an extra $150,000 a year by having simple LTC conversations. I was able to help this family. Then they went on to claim. It's amazing. Thank you so much for the mentorship. So it's very rewarding. And the video course is just a great way to get that content out there because unfortunately, a lot of these carriers, they're not going to provide specific courses on final expense, life insurance, long-term care annuities, and everything else.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. I knew from the moment that I met you, this was going to turn into a good friendship. I love the energy, the information, and the go getter mentality to want to help. Man, Roy, we covered a lot on this
We did.
on this podcast today. What's one thing that we didn't cover that's maybe a message that you may want to get out to thousands of agents out there that are listening around the world to this podcast?
Yes, don't overthink things because that has held me back personally for a long time, especially when it comes to creating content, creating this course, wanting to even write annuities, wanting to even write long-term care. I overthought the whole thing. It's too complicated. I just got to keep selling. I come from mortgage protection. That's my background. I'm just going to keep selling mortgage protection. And there's only two ways to make more money in this business, right? More policies or bigger policies. You can do more policies yourself or through a team, or you can write bigger policies. Why not do both? Okay. So don't be self-limiting on yourself. Take your business today. And in 5 years from now, if you keep doing what you're doing today, are you going to be happy with that? And you shouldn't be. You should not be. You should not be content in this practice. Now, some people are, and they don't want to grow. That's okay. Everybody's their own. But do something differently. Actually take action. Talk about the long-term care. Find somebody that you like that could be a referral partner in your local area. Use us. It doesn't matter who. Just start using long-term care, having that conversation because it'll make you feel better as a person. Why do you sell life insurance? Your story is if you die, your house is paid off. Well, what happens when you get older and you spend every single dollar that you worked your whole life wanting to sell off everything for a crooked and unfair healthcare system? Why aren't you having that conversation?
Yeah.
So that's what we're passionate about. We want agents to realize.
That's awesome, man. Well, this has been great. So how can people get more information about long-term care, the SNAR Academy, and then learn more about Roy Snar himself?
Yeah, thank you. Just my name, roysnar.com. That's SNARR.com. And then from there, I have a tab that says for agents. It has a whole breakdown of everything. We're actually redesigning everything now. And you can take a look at our book program that we have for white labeling. We have a publisher partnership, the Academy, just lots of stuff out there. But just look up my name online. You get to read all about it. And, we give away tons of free stuff. Just use the free stuff if you need to. And just make a difference in somebody else's life by having that conversation and think about your own stories about long-term care.
Awesome. Well, Roy, man, this has been great. Thanks so much for hopping on. I'm looking forward to being on your show, cheering you on. I'll be at 8%, cheering you from the front row. So I can't wait for that, man. Thanks so much for hopping on.
All right. Thank you, Arturo. I appreciate it.
No problem. But guys, thank you so much for hopping on and listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Podcast. If you want to learn more about long-term care and the SNAR Academy, go to roysnar.com, roysnar.com, and learn more about long-term care and the SNAR Academy. We'll see you in the next podcast.